Hey everyone, thanks for coming down the road with me, Joel Heitkamp. A lot of things going on. This is the day before the vote, right? I want you to think of, think of Normandy. It's a pretty big thought, right? Think of the men and the women that have donated their life to this country. That's a pretty simple thing. Vote, vote, and vote. You owe it to them to do exactly that. In fact, I'm going to begin with a man I've got a lot of respect for, always have, and that is former governor, former Secretary of Agriculture, Ed Schaefer. Mr. Schaefer, good to have you on Down the Road.
Hey, great with you, Bill.
Now,
Even though we're connecting from afar, it's great to be with you.
Yeah, you've already voted, have you not, Governor?
I voted, yes. I voted by absentee ballot.
Okay, so did I. But I think we can go get both of those back and see if we canceled each other out on everything.
We probably did.
Yeah, exactly. Governor, it's the day before the election. In all of our lives, we say this is the most important election. This is the one that will define us. This is the one that you look at and history is going to be made because the country is going to go in one direction or the other. Give me your take, first off, not on the election in terms of who you're going to vote for, who you're going to support, because I don't think that's going to surprise a lot of people, but the election itself, the historic value of this election.
Well, I think it is historic as you look at the philosophy of both parties kind of being pushed to the outside limits. That the middle center of America is now being shaped more by Republicans who are way out there on the conservative, out there on the left side, too conservative on the liberal, too far on the liberal side, and that's kind of what's shaping policy. And so we don't elect people anymore based on let's go to whatever the government body is. Let's work together. Let's shape what's best for the people. And sometimes it's a little bit more in my party, sometimes a little bit more in your party. Sometimes this philosophy works better, sometimes that. But you shape, public policy is generated through public discourse, and that's helpful to people. And now what we have is we just select people who are going to go there, and we're going to just stand up for these 5 things, and that's it, period. And there's no statesmanship. We don't elect statesmen. We don't elect people who aren't gone far left. And we're gonna put people in office that carry that load, period, and nothing else.
Well, let me give you an example of people I think that reined all that back in. Number one, we went through, you and I are old enough to remember this. We went through the Nixon years, which totally polarized the country. And then we come out, and I think there was a soft buffer, going into Gerald Ford. And Gerald Ford, having served in Congress all those years and making friends on both sides of the aisle. And then we go into the personality of Jimmy Carter. Now we know a lot of the history of why Jimmy Carter at the end of his administration wasn't as popular as he might have been in the beginning or in the middle. But then we go to Ronald Reagan. And I think both of us would agree that Ronald Reagan was someone that brought the country together, that put us in a position where we knew that both sides were being heard. Then you go to George H.W. Bush. I think that's the same individual. Then you go to Bill Clinton, certainly more polarizing. Your side of the aisle, Newt Gingrich, they got far more aggressive. I think we have to admit that. Then you go into George W. Bush, and you got Dick Cheney, and I think George W. Bush actually was much more calming. Then you get into Barack Obama, and because of the Affordable Care Act, I mean, there's a lot of things that started that process of dividing this country before Donald Trump. He just took it to another level, or at least in my opinion. I'm curious what yours is.
Well, I think it's true. And the issue is our system is very resilient, Joel. I mean, we push things one side and we push it the other, and if one party gets in too long and the people speak and they throw them all out and start over, with the other party, and I mean, that's just kind of the cyclical nature, because politicians always take it too far, and the people have a chance to center it back to where it needs to be, and they do so by electing good leaders, solid leaders, and unselfish leaders, which we don't have right now. I mean, public servants are different than people who are just in it to, I don't know, make a mark or whatever the case may be. So, I mean, there are many examples, but they're resilient. And if you can focus it back on the people, and you mentioned Bill Clinton. So Bill Clinton was polarized, but when he in midterm elections, he won. But when his party lost in the midterm elections, he pivoted back because he said, this is what the people's looking for. Yeah. So he worked on welfare reform. He worked on, balancing the budget. He worked on other things because that's what the people said in the elected process. So, I think we have a resilient plan. I think our design of our government's wonderful. I think we've been electing people that are polarizing. I think we've been electing people that don't understand public service, but understand only self-aggrandization, and that's it. So we'll elect people getting back. This election, is going to speak one way or another, but no matter what happens in this election, Joel, the people are going to have to get together here and say, we are responsible. We want to direct. We are going to tell our legislators where to go. We have to control Congress. And I think we can do that.
Do you really believe that Donald Trump would do that? Do you really believe that if Donald Trump wins again with whatever mandate that goes with winning again, do you really believe that Donald Trump would reach across and try to be that type of individual that brings us together? Or do you think he'd play to the people that he felt elected him? The group that follows a bus and you make sure that bus doesn't go as fast as what it should. I mean, do you really believe Donald Trump, if he wins this race, brings us together?
I think if he wins this race, he's going to be worse. He's going to be saying, oh, I won and the people want me and, I'm there. I'm just going to do whatever we want, et cetera. But I think that the public in this election has gotten to the point of saying we have a leadership issue in this country. And in my opinion, neither one of our candidates are good, strong, solid leaders. So, we're going to be in a situation where we've got leadership in the White House, whomever it is, but I think we can bring people back into the process in Congress. And I think the congressional roadblocks, they're not getting anything done. They haven't passed a budget forever. They're not getting the legislation out the door. They're not doing anything but holding hearings and hauling people in and grilling them in front of the gavel. I mean, it's just, the way the direction is stupid. And I think the people can take control over the congressional process, which is, 1/3 of the executive, 1/3 of our government structure, and an equal organization to the executive branch. So I think we can rein in. No, not rein in. I think we can regenerate the process of the Congress to a way that is directional for the people, and they're going to have to interact with the executive branch and figure that out. It's going to be hard. It's not going to be easy. It's going to probably take it 4 years to do it until we get another president.
So, Governor, what's your key? What are you looking for tonight? That if you see this, you feel the election is going one way or another. A lot of people on my side of the aisle 4 years ago went, wow. There were certain things that were keys. In my particular case, it was Michigan. In my particular case, it was Pennsylvania. Wisconsin, not so much, because then you could see it. And of course, that vote total was really close. But for you, what's your key tomorrow night?
Joe, I've been so sick of the politics and the the junk that's out there and all the campaigning and everything I've just kind of bailed out on it. I'm not paying a whole bunch of attention, to the whole thing. But I think what's key, obviously, Florida is key. Our next president has to win Florida. Pennsylvania, that's Pennsylvania's a weird state. I do some work out there, and that their politics are funny and this and that. I don't know, but you're gonna Michigan. I think Florida and Michigan are going to be big signals where we go there. And the signal, of course, is we're never going to get answers tomorrow night. The signals are going to be how decisive is a victory one way or another in Florida and in Michigan. Arizona seems to be a big hot spot right now. And if what they're saying is true about Texas, if Texas really is in play for the Democrats, that's going to be a huge signal.
Well, you know why Texas is the future of the Democratic Party, and that is because it's the future of the Democratic Party. Democrats have been saying for years that they're going to get Texas, and they haven't gotten it yet. So that isn't a key. What's that?
It's all the wacko Californians that are moving down there. That's the problem.
All right. Measure 2. I've got a minute to go. Tell me why you're voting no on Measure 2.
I'm voting on Measure 2 because it doesn't solve the problem we have with outside influence, outside dollars, trying to manage our North Dakota's Constitution. Our Constitution is our Constitution. We have billionaires, we have Hollywood elites, we have people that are coming in and say, you should do this, you should do that. They overwhelm us, and it needs to be fixed. Measure 2 does not fix it. We have a problem, let's fix the problem. If Measure 2 passes, we have to fix the problem. If Measure 2 loses, we have to fix the problem. So I can't vote for it if it doesn't fix the problem. I say vote no. Let's roll up our sleeves after this election and get to work and fix this outside influence that maneuvers our Constitution.
Governor, it's always great to talk to you. You said we'd cancel each other out. I voted no on Measure 2. So thanks for coming on down the road.
Thanks, Joe. Good to be with you.
As the mayor of Bismarck, I invite you to join together today and stand united in the fight to prevent the spread of COVID-19. Case counts are steadily on the rise in the Bismarck-Mandan metro area, so please do your part. Protect yourself and others by wearing a mask when you're not at home. During the pandemic response, scientists have determined wearing a mask is a benefit to you and to those around you. This help keeps others from getting sick and may lessen the severity of illness if you were infected with COVID-19. We're all in this together. So let's get kids back to school, preserve our local economy, and keep our community strong. Let's show everyone how we come together to keep Bismarck the safe, resilient community we know and love. For more information, visit health.nd.gov/coronavirus. That's health.nd.gov/coronavirus.
Beck Communications is honored to be recently recognized with 3 Broadband Now awards. Beck Communications Cooperative was awarded in the categories of Top Internet Speeds Nationwide, Top 3 Fastest Internet Providers in North Dakota, and North Dakota's #1 fastest fiber provider. It's only through the support of our members and customers that Beck Fiber delivers award-winning speeds and service. Thank you, Beck Communications Cooperative members and customers, for your years of continued support.
Introducing Accord Comfort Sleep Systems, a better way to sleep. We offer you 5 different models to give you the perfect choice of support and body comfort. Every model begins with our exclusive Accord Comfort Reflex Layer. This ensures proper spinal alignment and a deep down body relief. Our 8-inch Whisper Breeze provides a medium firm feel, and our 10-inch Gentle Night model has a quilted top, giving you a medium plush comfort. Both use Outlast fabric on the top of your mattress, ensuring that your body temperature is not too hot and not too cold. Our Copper Rest Sleep Series is our premier mattress, offering your choice of firm, plush, and luxury plush. Every model uses copper-infused gel latex and provides all the health benefits of copper. Accord Comfort mattresses are handcrafted in the USA and come with a 60-night sleep guarantee. You're going to love sleeping with us. Order today exclusively at accordsleep.com or Tom's Home Furnishings in beautiful downtown Harvey.
Is your business phone system outdated and expensive to maintain? Most large VoIP companies leave you on hold or struggling through online support and training for your employees. With Beck Connect, you always have fast, friendly, local support. Familiar faces with the know-how to keep you connected. Take advantage of the newest technology in voice calling, video conferencing, and virtual meeting rooms. Beck Connect gives you all the features you need with no upfront investment and no obsolete hardware or software ever again. Simplify your communications. Choose local. Choose Beck Connect.
Welcome back to Down the Road with me, Joel Heitkamp. There's seven kids born in 9 years. That's how fast mom and dad were pushing them out. Let's go that way. The one in the middle by far was their favorite. She was spoiled, and I think that's why she excelled at life. And that is my sister, United States Senator, or former Senator Heidi Heitkamp. Good to have you on Down the Road.
Everybody in our family knows who the spoiled one was.
I don't think we should bring up Holly. Let's get to work. Let's talk a little bit about what you've been doing. You've been not traveling, but you've been speaking all over the nation. I want to go on Bill Maher one time. I mean, how cool is that?
Yeah, well, it was. I've been doing a lot of Zoom meetings, a lot of calls into ag radio. It's been a lot of fun. It's kind of back to the old days. Mainly what we talk about is what's going to happen in agriculture long term and how this election will affect it. So it's been interesting to get the perspective from Iowa, from Pennsylvania, from Georgia. I mean, I've been all over the country, right here from my basement in Mandan, North Dakota.
But there is one thing, and the reason I bring up Bill Maher is because of this. You got the attention of the nation that night. It's watched. We all know that. And, of course, it's picked up upon by some of the national media when it does get their attention. You pointed out that the state of North Dakota has decided to give, 16, I think, $1 million to the oil industry to frack, like a big, wet kiss, as though the Harold Hams of the world are going broke. When you did that, the look on Bill Maher's face, the look on national media's face since then was just astounding. I mean, talk to me about that. Could you ever imagine using that CARES dollars that could be going to small town restaurants and small town hotels, giving $16 million to the oil industry?
First off, just so people understand, North Dakota has a constitution, a state constitution. It prohibits gifts, except in aid of the poor. So just kind of put that in perspective in terms of kind of the foundation of this. But, I thought about a dairy farmer who said, geez, I'd like to have someone come and clean out my dairy barn. Maybe they can send the Bobcat over here, or, some shop owner in, barber shop who said, geez, I'd like somebody to sweep up my hair when I'm all done for the day. Maybe I could get some of those dollars. I mean, what is the theory that the oil industry is the poor and therefore we have to finish their wells for them? I mean, it is beyond outrageous. And people who say, well, what about oil field workers? And I'm like, look, what about daycare workers? What about teachers who are buying supplies so that their classroom's safe? What about all the other needs that really do affect the people of North Dakota? And so, the other thing I want to know is how many of those oil field workers that we're creating jobs for get on a plane every 10 days and fly home?
I want to go over a couple of the races, Heidi, while we can. The first two being Pennsylvania and Florida. Everybody pointing out that Florida could be that coin toss. Nobody knows what's going to happen, but they do know that if the Democrat wins in Florida, the race is pretty much over. If the Republican has to win in Florida, but it doesn't mean the race is over. When you look at the polling numbers that ABC had, Heidi, it's pretty astounding. Do you believe, let me put it this way. How do you believe it's going in Pennsylvania?
In Pennsylvania or Florida, Joel? I
want to go Pennsylvania first.
Okay. I think Pennsylvania is going to be a bigger victory for Biden than what people expect. The problem with Pennsylvania is a lot of that early vote is Democrat early vote. The ones that have been returned are Democrat early returns. And it's interesting because the president keeps saying we're only going to count what's actually there on the 3rd. That's never been true. It's not true in North Dakota either, so calibrate that. And if it's postmarked in North Dakota, you count it, whether it came in, on the day before or the day after. And so the one thing that he may be doing, which is to bite off his nose to spite his face, is he may be saying, look, quit counting at day certain, but those late ballots may in fact be his ballots. So I'm not sure what his play is there, and I know that the Republicans are incredibly frustrated as he has attacked mail voting, because they've been pushing mail voting for a lot of years too. So, you know, I think Pennsylvania is going to come in bigger than what people think. I was in Western Pennsylvania in 2016, and I knew there was trouble out there. And I've talked to people who have been canvassing in Western Pennsylvania. They're telling me that unlike 16, there's Biden signs out there. There's people who are fed up and want to vote for Joe Biden.
So, and the reason we're going to go back to Florida is because it brings us back to the next question about Pennsylvania. And so Florida, how do you think that breaks?
You know, it's really hard because the Hispanic population is really divided in Florida between Cubans, Caribbeans, people who come from the Caribbean, whether it's Haiti or the Dominican. And then, of course, there's the Latin and Central Americans. And each one of those interest groups, when you lump them all together, I think you miss the nuance. And so I think that the good news for Biden is that older people are breaking for Biden. Trump's not going to win senior citizens at the same rate that he won senior citizens 4 years ago. We all know that Florida has a lot of senior citizens, and so I'm watching a couple counties, one of which is north of Orlando, because people in the know tell me that if Trump does not win big like he did last time by 25, 26 points, that bodes poorly for the president.
Okay, when we come back, what we're going to do is we're going to go over the fact that if Joe Biden loses Florida, and we're going to head back to Pennsylvania, because as Heidi pointed out, what we're really getting at here is whether or not those absentee ballots are going to be counted and what can happen in some of the lawsuits that follow with that. So big topic here. We've got to talk about Pennsylvania. We've got to talk about Michigan. I don't know that we got to talk about Wisconsin as much, but we got some work to do. More with Heidi Heitkamp right after this.
I just went in for a regular mammogram, and I found out that I had a little tumor.
Through the exam and the biopsy, it was determined that I had cancer.
I got a call from one of my doctors that I was diagnosed with breast cancer.
After 5 years, they found a local reoccurrence.
The first thing you hear when you're told you have a cancer, it's a little daunting because you don't know where to go with it.
Since 1999, in a partnership between CHI St. Alexius Health and Sanford Health Bismarck, the Bismarck Cancer Center has provided the most advanced radiation therapies and holistic support services for cancer patients and their loved ones for 20 years.
I've been at the Bismarck Cancer Center since it started. I actually was in the basement of Med Center 1 before, when we had old machines and old equipment. And thankfully, the two hospitals at the time, St. Alexis and Med Center 1, joined forces to create the Bismarck Cancer Center.
I walk in the door, I get nothing but hugs, and I was marveled at them. I mean, I thought it was the best place in the world.
The staff is unbelievably compassionate, and they explain everything to you.
Everybody's genuinely concerned about your well-being, and the level of care is just top-notch. The Cancer Center just does such an amazing job of helping people.
To me and my family, the Cancer Center means life. It's given me the ability to live out my life with my family, my wife, my children, my grandchildren.
Because of them, I'm 2 years out, get to move on with my life, make a difference now for other people.
I would recommend this center because the minute you walk through that door, they've got your back.
This center means so much to me and to the people that are in this building, and we just want to keep giving it back to the community and providing for them what they need.
I'm Katie. I've been cancer-free for 2 years.
I'm Steve, and I've been cancer-free for 4 years.
I've been cancer-free for 10 years.
10 years.
11 years.
15 years.
My name is Lainey, and I've been cancer-free for 18 years.
Bismarck Cancer Center, your partner against cancer for 20 years.
Who do you trust with your digital life? Not all cloud backup providers keep your data truly private. Beck Cloud Backup uses advanced multi-layer encryption to keep your family photos, videos, and sensitive business documents secure and only for your eyes. Your Beck Lightband Internet service already includes 50 gigs of free storage to keep your digital life safe and secure. Call us at 701-475-2361 to start using your Beck Cloud Backup today.
Welcome back to Down the Road. She's been out there working on this campaign on behalf of Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. I know, Heidi, that there's some charts, there's some things that you feel really show how the race is going.
Yeah, I think it's important to understand, and you'll see in this chart that where the blue polls are right now, but then you think the pink, which is leaning towards the president, Ohio, Maine to Georgia, Texas, Iowa, they're all very much in play, but really very little of what is the solid blue or the blue portion of that is in play for the president. And so it shows you what an uphill climb, based on the polling, if you want to believe polling, what an uphill climb the president has tomorrow in getting reelected.
Well, one of the things I alluded to before the break was the fact that we could easily have a scenario, though, where the president declares victory the night of the election, and yet we haven't counted the ballots in Michigan. We haven't counted the ballots in Pennsylvania, which many people assume have broke the Democratic way. And then, of course, you're going to have unrest in the United States of America. What do you think happens? What do you think happens if all the ballots haven't been counted and the president steps up to the microphone and declares victory?
I think it's going to be a lot more complicated of a night for him than being able to say, oh, here it is, Pennsylvania, everything is clear as, daylight. We know what happened in all these other states. I think we're going to have a very close race in North Carolina. We're going to have a very close race in Florida. Ohio might be close. And in fact, Texas might be close. And so what you may have at the end of the day is you may have him declaring victory based on Pennsylvania when Pennsylvania may not be the state that decides the race. And so I think it's way more complicated. And I think there's a lot of wishful thinking there on both sides that they're going to be able to see some clear path. Now, if this is a wave election, and by that I mean you see a 5 to 7 point electoral or popular vote victory for Biden when all the votes are counted, I would consider that a wave election. I think it'd be really hard for the president to overcome that popular vote margin in the Electoral College.
What about Arizona? Does Joe Biden have a chance of winning Arizona?
Absolutely. I think McSally's going to lose that Senate race. And I think that one of the things that people aren't talking about, and that Cindy and John were very good, Cindy's a very good friend of mine, but I don't think people in Arizona really like that the president was mean to John McCain. And that McSally didn't stick up for John McCain. And you can say, well, he wasn't all that popular in Arizona. You want to say he won, election after election in Arizona, and he is the favorite son. And so on top of this Arizona trending demographically younger and bluer, he carries the weight of that, I think, horrible behavior as it relates to Senator McCain.
Well, you said something to me, and I go back to the McSally race, which the next question is whether or not the Democrats can overtake in the United States Senate and become the majority party. But you said something to me a while ago on my radio show, and you said it to me in one of those brother and sister talks, which is, why in the world would the governor of Arizona appoint to the United States Senate a woman that just lost a race in the United States Senate? And the minute you said that, it was like, that one resonated. That one made sense.
Well, it made no sense other than the fact that Mitch McConnell is trying very, very hard to diversify and, make more gender balance in his caucus. He can read the tea leaves going forward, and he knows that he can't be the party of just old white guys. He's got to figure out how to bring some new faces under the tent. And so you see he pushed really hard for Kelly Loeffler in Georgia to be the appointee. On paper, you think McSally should be like, you know, an excellent choice, but she had already lost an election. I mean, I think that this wasn't the governor's choice as much as it was Mitch McConnell's choice, and Mitch picked her, and I think he's going to live to regret that.
So the Senate, can the Democrats, and more importantly, will the Democrats become the majority party in the United States Senate?
I mean, I think first thing is a trend. In 2016, for the first time in a long time, every state that had a Senate race voted the way they voted for president. So there wasn't any deviation, which tells you that the Senate races are becoming national races. And it used to be people like Kent Byron and even me could get elected in North Dakota because there were people willing to cross over and actually vote. That tribalism has intruded. And so now what you see is you see states going the way of the president. And so in those states where the president is not doing well, it'll be interesting to see if they can survive a governor's or a Senate race. So let's take, for instance, North Carolina. North Carolina right now, the Senate candidate is actually polling below the president. But if the president loses North Carolina, I don't see how there's any way that Tom Tillis gets reelected. I think that same thing is true about Arizona. There's two places where I would say that you have to be a little careful with that example. The first is Montana, because Bullock has already proven that even if Trump wins, he can get himself elected. He was elected governor in 2016 by a pretty healthy margin, even though Trump won Montana. And I would say Susan Collins, just because Maine is a little different, a little more independent. But Susan's problem is that she's got something called rank voting. So if you vote for the third party candidate, in this case, the Green Party candidate that's polling for, then you get to list who your second choice is. And the Green Party candidate has been asking people to list Gideon as their second choice. So if you combine the Green Party with Gideon, Gideon's over 50%, and that's a tough road to hoe. I think where you're going to see, as goes the state, so goes the Senate race, is perhaps in Iowa.
So if that be the case, then when you talk about a potential blue wave, I mean, there's a potential of a pretty big blue wave here then.
Oh, yeah. No, I mean, I think if this is a blue wave election, and what you have to think about is that everything moves anywhere from 4 to 7 points from the last election. So if in North Dakota, Trump got 64%, if this is a blue wave, he won't get over 60. He maybe get in the high 50s. So that would be a substantial movement away from Donald Trump in North Dakota. Minnesota then waves in probably 5 to 7 points. You know, so all of these states should move at the same wave amount, whether that's 4 or 6. You pick it based on the poll. What's interesting, reading about the polling in Florida, and this is the bad news for the Biden folks, Florida has been an outlier in that wave analysis because they've only moved 2 points from what happened in 2016, which tells you that Trump is doing as well in Florida as any of the swing states, or any of the states really, because even in red states like Montana, they're still going to experience that wave.
So predictions. I mean, when you look at the Biden race, the Trump race, tons of money spent on this, you know, and it's so clear. And I'm not, you know, I'm speaking to both sides, whichever you support, but it's so clear the differences between these two men. I mean, let me be partisan for a second, or more in a second, obviously. But you've got a bunch of Trump supporters surrounding a bus. You got a little white car, and the jacked up Ford decides to jam into the white car. I mean, the sheer arrogance, the incredible partisanship, the passion that Trump supporters have. I mean, is that gonna change things? Is that gonna make it so that on election night we end up being as surprised as we were on the Clinton race?
You know, I don't want to focus too much on polling, but you know, that's what people do who are involved in politics when you're running these races. You look at demographic groups. The other thing that has gotten forgotten, sure, he's got a very enthusiastic voting base. There's no doubt about it. Question is there enough of them? The part of his coalition that got him elected are suburban women, seniors, to some degree, maybe doing a little bit better with Hispanic males, and all of that carried him into the White House by the slimmest of margins. Now you've got suburban women who left him in 2018. They didn't leave him in 2020. They walked away before COVID and said, I don't want my kids watching this. I don't like you. And I'm not going to vote for you, and I'm not going to vote for people who are going to go to Washington and just be your toadies. I've moved on. And seniors now, I think, are being driven by what's happening with COVID, because in this country, and I don't get it, there is an incredibly cavalier attitude about seniors who are suffering with the high consequences of COVID. You know what? When you're that age, when you're my age, when you're a senior citizen, every hour matters, never mind every year that you can spend with your kids is precious. And to suggest that it's okay if it gets taken away, that's not sitting well with seniors.
I got 30 seconds left. Give me a prediction. A big upset that you're sitting there, because clearly you think Joe Biden's going to win the presidency. But one race where tomorrow or on Wednesday morning, everybody's going to sit there and go, I can't believe she picked that one right.
I would say it is the race in Montana. I'm going to predict that Bullock wins, and not a lot of people are even talking about it. And then I'm going to predict that the race in Alaska is going to be very, very close, and no one's talking about that one.
Former Senator Heidi Heitkamp, thank you. I appreciate it for you coming on. Go sign up for Social Security, okay? When we come back,
you don't get until you're 66, Joel.
When we come back, Doug Usher from
probably
Forbes.
Won't make it.
She can't quit picking on me. When we come back, Doug Usher is going to join us from Forbes Tate. This is a professional pollster and strategist.
Bismarck Central, 4800.
4800, go ahead.
Requesting social services on-call team.
Stand by. 4800 social services requesting additional information.
You can advise social services that we have an 18-month-old female who was in a residence with a mother, now being transported to medical care for overdose.
Trusting your digital life to faceless tech giants can be risky. Will they keep your family and business information truly safe from prying eyes? If you subscribe to local Beck Lightband internet service, you already have Beck Cloud Backup. Beck Cloud Backup is the safest, most private cloud storage for all your family memories, schoolwork, and business documents. Call 701-475-2361 to start using your free space on Beck Cloud Backup today.
You just might find the home of your dreams this weekend by watching the Alliance Real Estate Tour of Homes Sundays at 6 p.m. and Wednesdays at 7 on Beck, featuring properties from Bismarck, Mandan, Minot, and surrounding areas. The Alliance Real Estate Tour of Homes presents desirable properties that are for sale, lets you meet your Alliance realtors, and provides critical insights into local happenings from community and business leaders. Join us this Sunday evening at 6 or Wednesday at 7 for the Alliance Real Estate Tour of Homes on Beck.
Today's households have more digital devices than ever before. More links to family, business, education, and entertainment. Beck Communications spent over 10 years building North Dakota's fastest fiber optic internet service. Beck Lightband Internet, outpacing speeds in large cities nationwide. Lightband Internet handles all your digital needs without throttling your connection to the world. Beck Communications, valuable digital connections in rural North Dakota.
As the mayor of Bismarck, I invite you to join together to get our kids back to school, preserve our local economy, and keep Bismarck safe, strong, and resilient. A community task force has been launched to slow the spread of COVID-19 in our community. We're all in this together. Protect yourself and others by doing your part. Wear a mask when you're out and about, and slow the spread of COVID-19. For more information, visit health.nd.gov/coronavirus.
Welcome back to Down the Road with me, Joel Heitkamp. We're going to bring in Doug Usher now. Doug is a partner with Forbes Tate Partners. Now, what do? Well, he's an analyst. He understands polling. He reads tea leaves, whether he likes it or not. Doug, good to have you on with us.
Hey, thanks for having me.
So, you've been following it. You've been tracking it. Tomorrow's the big election day. What do you see happening?
You know, if you look at the data, and that's all you can do right now, things are looking pretty good for Biden, again, from a probability standpoint, right? If you look historically, you look just within this race, he's held a pretty durable lead in all the polling. And the thing about the polling is there are challenges without question. What's different from 2016 is that he's held a lead for the whole time. He's seeing, states that will be decisive hold up a relatively stable lead. And importantly, you're seeing data come from congressional districts, so even below the state level, that reinforce him having a relatively strong lead. All that said, it's a 90 to 95% chance of sun, but there's rain when the weather forecasts sunny days too.
Yeah. So, in the Clinton race, you could make an argument that she actually won. Well, we do know this. Close to 3 million votes, popular vote. And now you look at national polls, which I'm not sure why people are doing that as much as, people do out of curiosity, but you add in those states like New York and California and everything. A lot of the national polls now show Biden ahead as much as 9%. Let's just use 7% on a national poll. At some point, doesn't that poll itself get high enough to where it does matter in these state-to-state polls?
The short answer is yes, which is to say you're right that Democrats have this electoral vote problem because they build in too many votes in 2 states, and frankly 3, New York, California, and Illinois. Now, getting away from that for a second, states don't move independently. So it's not like Pennsylvania will move to Trump strongly and other states won't, or vice versa. To answer your question, Trump needs to lose the popular vote by 4 points or less for the state stuff to really matter. And that's a problem for Democrats for sure. And that's what I think is keeping them up at night is, let's say the lead is really 6 or 5 and not 8, and it starts going to 4 on election day. That's where you see all this action at the states really mattering. That's where Trump sees the path to victory.
Well, I mean, you look at it and the Democrats are scared, and they should be scared. I mean, everybody knew that Hillary Clinton was going to win, and here's what happened. She didn't win. So if I look at some things that night and they tell me, okay, now I know that it's not going to be anything like the Clinton race, what would they be? What would be your indicators?
Sure, I'd say 3 things. Number 1, Biden has held a lead for the entire race. That's different from Clinton, where Trump actually held a lead in the popular vote at some points. And that lead, and then he fell behind, but then it got really tight after that Comey letter. Second thing is that Biden is polling over 50%. There aren't the undecideds. So for Clinton, if you take a look at where the polls were really wrong, meaning the final margins weren't anywhere near, final polling margins weren't near where the election margins were, it was in the upper Midwest. And what you see is not that Clinton lost support, but that all the undecideds went to Trump. That's a polling misread, but not a fatal error. And then the final thing, which I mentioned earlier, is that you're seeing national, state, and congressional district polls line up in ways that they didn't line up last time, which showed there were things going on. Again, not a guarantee by any stretch, but those are the things that make it different from 2016. Not that, again, I'm not guaranteeing, predicting, or anything, but I am suggesting that it shows the probability even stronger than it was when Hillary was running.
So I hop on my motorcycle. That's too late for that. It's cold weather up here now. I hop in my pickup and I head over to the Manor VFW Hall, where 90% of the people in there support Donald Trump. And I look at them and say, everything you just said, and they look at me and they say, you know what? You told me all that in 2016. You told me he was going to lose. You're wrong, and you're wrong again. You just gave me good reasons on why I'm not wrong, but how do I go to bed tonight and feel like going over to that VFW hall?
You know, I think part of it is it's like sports, right? I mean, there's a lot of politics has become like sports. And if you are a, University of North Dakota fan, University of Colorado fan, or an Alabama fan, you're with your team even when you're favored by 20 or favored to lose by 20. And you'll argue your team's going to win until the final whistle blows on game day. So I think there's some of that going on. But the second is people who doubted Trump last time were wrong in 2016. However, there's two things that I would add to that. Number one is they were also wrong in the other direction in 2018. They predicted that Trump predicted, and his supporters predicted they would hold on to the House. They did not, and they lost a lot of Senate races. They held on to the Senate. But the point is, not everybody's right all the time, not everybody's wrong all the time. But again, if you're going to do it evidence-based, it's certainly looking good for Biden and better for Democrats than it did in 2016.
Here's another thing that they're going to throw at me, and they throw it at me often, that Joe Biden cannot get people to a rally like Donald Trump can. No matter where he goes, he can get 20,000 people there tomorrow. We won't get into the super spreader, nothing like that. What we're talking about is the passion of people to go to a rally in Nebraska, freeze their keisters off, waiting for a bus to come back, and never be mad about it. Is there energy there that the polls don't show? Is there an energy there that people don't pick up on?
You know, I think it's possible. And I've been through this long enough to know that I'm not going to look at the polls as being decisive. And when you start getting those early exit poll leaks on day of, and people can tell stories from the, voting booth about how things are going, it is a data point. But right now, it is Donald Trump's only data point. Could that be enough to overcome deficits of 5 to 7 points? Again, it's possible. But then you throw in the early mail voting. And the idea that so many people are already voting in the absentee ballots that, of course, are being done more by Democrats based on, both Trump's approach and some traditional patterns. And some of that really comes into question. But again, we'll know tomorrow who's right. But my guess is that those rallies are going to be fine, and he'll have them now. He'll have them whether he wins or loses. But that's not how you win a presidential race.
I've been in politics a long, long time, held elected office. And I have to tell you, if I was after suburban women's votes and I was after the elderly votes, I'm not sure that I would call a bunch of guys in jacked up pickups with Trump banners all over the place, ramming into a white car, encircling a Biden bus and not letting it by. I don't know that that would be good with the elderly crowd. And every suburban mother who was sitting there looking at that bus on the interstate, looking at how they treated that little white car, is going, that could have been me in that white car. Does that play into it? To have a president stand up and say, those guys are patriots. I mean, how big of a factor does that have when you're targeting suburban women?
I think that it's baked in already, meaning in the end, so let's sort of fast forward to Election Day. If you could know 3 things about Election Day, I would say that will tell you who's going to win or lose. It's where do suburban women vote? Where do seniors vote? Where do they go? Meaning who do they vote for? And finally, African-American turnout. Those 3 things will tell you who's going to win. And to your point, Joel, if he loses suburban women and loses seniors, which is where the polling says he is, and African Americans turn out at historic level, he's not going to win.
Well, there's another problem out there, and that's whether or not he concedes when he loses, and whether or not he declares victory when he hasn't won yet. And so that's a whole subject that we got to hit upon another day. But I can tell you this, when they're boarding up windows, America is scared, right? If people want to find your work, Doug, I mean, it's amazing. Where do they go to find it?
Well, you can check us out just at Forbes Tate Partners. You're searching on Google, Forbes, like the magazine, Forbes Tate, T-A-T-E. I do a weekly 3 numbers for Thursday that shows up in our blog, and we put out stuff like that all the time, and that's where to go, and hopefully on shows like this.
Doug's one of those guys that I would lean over his shoulder just so I could stay eligible for football. Pretty bright man, and it's nice to have you come on with us, Doug. I appreciate it.
Hey, thanks a lot, Joel.
You bet. Coming up, some commentary, some opinion for Joel as if you needed more, right here on Down the Road.
He once won a spelling bee in an ancient language that he did not speak. He is the only man to ever earn extra credit on an IQ exam. His academic degrees are considered legitimate spending currency in 22 nations, 2 principalities, and at Chick-fil-A restaurants in the United States and Western Canada.
I do not always engage with education programming, but when I do, it is the Dr. Duke Show.
Stay educated with the Dr. Duke Show, weekdays at 4 p.m. on Beck News.
Introducing Accord Comfort Sleep Systems, a better way to sleep. We offer you 5 different models to give you the perfect choice of support and body comfort. Every model begins with our exclusive Accord Comfort Reflex Layer. This ensures proper spinal alignment and a deep down body relief. Our 8-inch Whisper Breeze provides a medium firm feel, and our 10-inch Gentle Night model has a quilted top, giving you a medium plush comfort. Both use Outlast fabric on the top of your mattress, ensuring that your body temperature is not too hot and not too cold. Our Copper Rest Sleep Series is our premier mattress, offering your choice of firm, plush, and luxury plush. Every model uses copper-infused gel latex and provides all the health benefits of copper. Accord Comfort mattresses are handcrafted in the USA and come with a 60-night sleep guarantee. You're going to love sleeping with us. Order today exclusively at accordsleep.com or Tom's Home Furnishings in beautiful downtown Harvey.
You're looking for secure private cloud storage, but who can you trust? Big tech companies don't always keep your family photos, videos, and sensitive business information away from prying eyes. Your local Beck Lightband Internet Services comes with 50 gigs of Beck Cloud Backup free. Hometown service with top-tier security to keep your data truly safe and private. Get your 50 gigs free today. Call 701-475-2361 and ask about Beck Cloud Backup.
My name is Rich Shook, and I lost my best friend in a grain bin accident.
Some of the emotional scars that when these incidences happen just resonates throughout the community like dropping a rock in a pond. I guess I'll never forget. At least the last moments we shared. That's why I think this is so important to get out there to people, is people think that it can't happen to you, and it can. The time it would take you to just kiss a loved one, and your life is over. I believe it's unacceptable.
This message provided by North Dakota Farmers Union.
It's always good going down the road with you. Just some final thoughts. Number one, I want to talk about the target that the President of the United States has going into tomorrow's election. You hear him talk a lot about suburban women. You hear him trying to connect with suburban women. I'm sure you're going to hear that tomorrow, or you're going to hear that some more before tomorrow's election. Now, here's the thing that I know about suburban women. Don't say you want your husbands to go back to work. Don't act as though suburban women don't work, because they do. My wife is a suburban woman, and she does. Now, he didn't have her vote in the first place, so I'm not trying to pretend that he could have swayed her, but that isn't the point. suburban women really don't like seeing injustice. And so if you're going to call patriots those individuals that sat there and tried to ram a car, in fact, I think there was some contact made there. If you're going to call patriots the individuals that would encompass a bus, and if you're going to call patriots those individuals that would block traffic on a bridge, that isn't going to sell with the suburban women. That isn't going to sell with them one bit. Could you imagine a mother sitting in a minivan or sitting in a Tahoe, or for that matter, sitting in a Jeep? I don't know what they drive. I don't know what that individual drives. I know what my suburban wife drives. But I can tell you this. If they're sitting in there with their kids or their grandkids and they're watching this all unfold in front of them, they're not liking it. They're trying to look for 911 on their phones. They're not liking it. Because what they see first off is bullies. They see second off is danger. In fact, it might be reversed. The point being this: if the president takes the stage later on and calls those individuals that you can see right here how dangerous that was. You can see how obnoxious that was. If the president calls them patriots, that's not going to sell with suburban women. I also want to talk a little bit about what your duty is tomorrow. It's pretty simple what your duty is. It's to vote. I'm not sitting here saying you have to vote one way or another. You know how I'm going to vote. But I do know this. You really owe it, not just to yourself, but to this country to vote. If you haven't voted yet, which obviously many of you have, imagine the individuals that gave the ultimate sacrifice to this country so that you can vote. I mean, imagine that. Imagine the individuals at a time when a number of states decided to be traitors and break away from the United States. Imagine how important it is for every one of those individuals that were wearing a blue coat that kept this nation together for you to do what you're supposed to do, and that's vote. This election has brought out a lot of passion. I think you're going to see the vote totals higher than you've ever seen them before. Now, who that passion plays into, we're going to find out. We may not find out tomorrow. It may take days to find out, but we're going to find out. And you know what? You're going to want to be counted before we find out. I'm Joel Heitkamp. It's always good going down the road with you. Until the next time, good riding with you.